Hello, you lovely listeners. I'm Amy. Welcome to the Really Good Conversations podcast, where we will delve into the minds of the business people we have met in the process of launching our first card game. We will be uncovering their secrets to success, their biggest mistakes, and sharing the key lessons they have picked up en route. So, if you're looking for an engaging chinwag mixed with business insights and a good pinch of fun, you're in the right place. Let's have a really good conversation. Welcome to the Really Good Conversations podcast. Today, I am joined by Dominic Price, work futurist and resident team doctor at Atlassian. Dom has spent many years helping teams around the world rethink how they work, lead, and collaborate. Welcome to the podcast, Dom.
Thank you very much for having me.
This is exciting because I don't get to do that many guests in person. No. And here we are in the flesh. Yeah. Almost on each other's knees.
This is episode 2. We've been chatting for an hour already.
We have as well.
We've done the warm-up.
We have. And I often actually say to people that some of the conversations that we have before or after, it's always like, if I'd have just recorded that.
Floor, yeah.
If I'd have just the warts and all behind the scene. But thank you firstly for coming on the podcast. And I wanted to firstly delve into a bit of your background and find out what actually is a work futurist.
Ooh, that's easy. It's a made-up job. It's a made-up job that we made up a couple of years before the pandemic, actually, before everyone else became a futurist. There seemed to be like a growth spurt of futurists in 2020, 2021. We did it firstly to really annoy one of the co-founders that I work with, Scott, who's, when I was changing role, he said, you can call yourself anything apart from a futurist. And we're like, I wonder what would happen if we called me a futurist. Like, how pissed off would he be? It turned out quite a bit, but we'd done it already. And I got featured in an Australian Financial Review article as Atlassian's work futurist. I was like, it's kind of stuck now. The joke we had at the time became true. It's weird how, like, you make laughter out of something, and then afterwards we're like, hang on, that's actually what we inadvertently wanted. And so what the role is Atlassian is all about making collaboration software for teams. Basically, me and a few colleagues were sat there, this was 2018, and we're like, we need to understand what teamwork looks like in the future, and we need to reverse engineer what it might look like to create ways of working today that gets us there. Yeah. So the challenge for us was, if we just listen to our customers, they tell us what they wanted yesterday.
Yes.
Which, if we build it, by the time they get it, they definitely don't want it anymore. Right?
Of course, yeah.
So we're like, we have to have someone in the organization that's thinking time horizon 3. And so it started out as like a PR media. How do we get and tell our story externally? What inadvertently happened, which is now the case for me, I spent about half my time outside Atlassian with our most complex, curious customers who are like, hey, we're in an absolute mess right now.
Yeah.
How do you help us take this leap to this future thing that you talk about? And so weirdly, even though I'm called a work futurist, and it is technically what I do, I spend half my time very much in modern work, helping unravel complex, archaic legacy businesses so that they can become more futuristic. Yes. Because if they don't solve today, they'll never realize the benefits of tomorrow.
Wow. Yeah, that is fascinating. Now, you're a fellow Northerner. You're from Manchester. I'm on the other side, the northeast. But how does one go from being in Manchester to being in Sydney as a work futurist for Atlassian?
Yeah, short version. Went to uni in Sheffield, qualified business degree. My entire family, I was the first member of my family to go to university. So there's a lot of pressure after university to make something of it. And it was decided, I don't think I was part of the decision, it was decided that I'd become a chartered accountant. Because accountancy meant a job for life. Oh. And as you know, growing up in the North, the idea of a job, like showing off to the, if you're in the pub and you say to your mate, I've got a job, you're showing off. If you say I've got a job for life, you're like, you're like the dog's gooly gooly. So I was like, yeah, job for life. Like, why not? That sounds amazing. And then I had this really weird moment where I was like, I feel awkward. It's like a generational thing. This really awkward moment where I was like, I don't like what I do. I don't like work. And coming from the North, you're not meant to like work. No. It's meant to be a graft. You do it for the man. You don't do it for yourself. You work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and Friday you go and get drunk and you complain about work. And I was like, I don't know that I want to do that path. I want to mix it up a bit. So mixing it up for me was different career paths in terms of different organizations and then different countries. So moving from the UK, where I was in a very safe space with my work, to a way different work environment. Same job, but in Australia was step one. And then after my time at Deloitte, I decided to just go and work for some really messed up companies and go and learn. I just wanted to throw myself in the deep end. Like the more broke a company was, I was like, challenge accepted. Because I wanted to, after 8 years of consulting and advising other companies, I'm like, I need to go and do it.
Yeah.
Like I was really itchy. I'm like, it's time to roll the sleeves up. I don't want to write another report about how you should fix anything. I want to move you out of the way and fix it for you.
Yeah.
And in consulting, you can't do that. So I found my most challenging client, and I was like, let's work together. And it just started this. My entire career has been opportunistic. There's never been a plan. And so the last 12 years at Atlassian, which when I joined Atlassian, most of my friends thought I was mad. I took a pay cut to join them. They were a small, privately held startup, 600 people. And people were like, what, at this stage of your career, you move for a pay rise.
Yeah.
And you move up the ladder. You've moved sideways, maybe down to a small company, and you've taken a pay cut. You're mad. And if I was still friends with any of those people now, I'd be like, it's going all right.
It's a bit bigger than just a startup, a small company
weird.
now.
The most addictive thing about my, it's been 12 years now at Atlassian, is the growth curve. It is constant and crazy and unstructured and random. Like each year something new, or each quarter or each period of time, something new happens where we have to adapt how we work and who we work with and what we're doing. And the growth that comes with that, I never realized how addictive that was until in this role, I started spending more time with other companies. And I was like, oh, you don't do this. You just build a plan and do it. I mean, this is miserable for me. This is my idea of hell. But it's like this controlled chaos in the environment that we're in, where we're constantly having to adapt. That is a really, for me, like with my personality type, is a really addictive feature.
And I think when you touched on earlier, some of this stems from the leaders and those at the top. And I'm sure many years ago is the story from the founders of Atlassian was that they started, one of the reasons they started Atlassian was because they never wanted to wear a suit to work.
They wanted to wear a suit, and their plan was to earn $43,000 each, which was what the average accountancy salary was.
Yeah.
So when all their mates were graduating, they're like, I'm going to Deloitte, KPMG, EY, PwC, fine. They're all earned $43,000. Like, if we can earn that and wear our own clothes, we've nailed it.
Yeah.
They became slightly more ambitious than that over time. But it's funny, like the bedrock of equality, the bedrock of innovation, the bedrock of like none of the BS of work, like all those things that start out quite jovially as conversations between Scott and Mike, the founders, are still such a strong part of our DNA today. And we're a $50 billion, 13,000 person organization. Like it's night and day. But those foundations have really stayed. They manifest in different ways, right? We're a listed company. There's compliance. Like you have to alter how you work. But those core beliefs, I don't believe, have gone away.
No, and that drive to set out to do something different and have that vision and that foresight. We're going to do this a bit differently, actually. We're not just going to follow the same path. No. From your experience, have you found there to be a different work culture between the UK and Australia? And if so, how?
Yeah, I have to. So I didn't realize this in like what I call like day-to-day work. I realized this probably in the last 7 or 8 years being on stage. Because when I'm on stage, I'm trying to personalize my message to the audience. And I quite naively, when I first started presenting on stage a lot, just thought that I had my presentation and I would take that on the road.
Yeah.
And if I'm delivering that in India, it's a different version to if I'm delivering it in the US, to the UK, to Australia. Yeah. Australia and the UK, probably the most similar, right? Comedy value, similar banter, similar nuance, all good. You can throw a bit of like a provocation in there, right? So there's certain things where I'm like, UK audience, tongue in cheek, all good. Australian audience, good. Tend not to take themselves too seriously. In India, I work a lot in Japan and the Asian countries where hierarchy is way more of a thing, right? Where the caste system, right? Where there is more structural, let's just call it inequality. I think it's inequality, right? But and that's their way of doing it, not right or wrong. I have to be really careful because I can stand in the UK or Australia and go, if you've got a challenge with your boss, here's how to have a conversation about it. I can't say that in other countries because I can't do that. I get fired. So I've become more aware of cultural nuances in each location, each demographic, and I try and tweak and tailor. I find it really funny when I get it wrong. So in 20...
goes silent.
My favorite one, no, it never goes silent. There's always feedback. 2018, I was doing the opening keynote of Agile in Santa Cruz. So they brought me to a 5-day conference, massive conference. So we're over the moon, opening keynote. Yeah. We had a big booth there. We're going to be busy all week. I get to do my little, song and dance. So on the Sunday night, I'm in the hotel bar, just grabbing a burger, and I see this lady. She's like, "Hey, I'm part of the team that picked you and organized it. I've seen you speak before. I love your style. I don't know how it's going to go down with this cohort." And I was like, agile cohort in my mind, normally quite forward thinking. We're not in middle America or the dark ages here. Like, we're in Santa Cruz, right? You're a cool bunch. I'm like, I think you're overreacting. She's like, look, just maybe think about, like, here's a few suggestions of how to tone it down. I was like, thank you. Took it on board, made some tweaks. So I get on stage and I do my opening spiel, and then there's 5,000 people in the room. I'm like, right, we're probably 10, 15 minutes, and I'm like, right, talk to the person next to you. Here's the challenge, talk about this thing. And I'm just stood there, and I'm like, proud as punch. And the chairman walks up to me. He's like, cover your mic. So I cover my mic. He's like, you better turn this down right now. And I'm thinking,
you've only just started.
No, this is the toned down version. I'm like, I've taken out what I think is the controversy, and you still feel like it's controversial. Yeah. So then I've got this voice in my head going, are you solving for him? Or are you solving for the room? I'm like, well, I'm not solving for him. He's a stakeholder, but it's the room that I'm here to talk to, not him. Anyway, deliver the rest of the talk. As I walk off stage, he's furious. And one of my colleagues, Mary's lovely human being, came up to me. She's like, are you okay? And I was like, why? She's like, that was the lamest version of that presentation I've ever seen you give. And I was like, yeah, the guy over there that's got the red face with the steam coming out of his ears, he thinks it's the worst version, as in the most controversial.
Oh, my word.
So what happened was, when I got the feedback, I scored like 3.7 out of 5. But the people either scored it 5 out of 5, refreshing, needed this, great kick in the arse, brilliant, thank you for booking him, loved it, or naught. Wow, no one scored it 3. No one was like, yeah, I like bits, I didn't like it. It was like, I hated this, organ rejection. I loved it, more, please. And I'm like, I'm okay with that. Like, it's good. We had a lot of chat on the booth that week, because people come and going, I didn't like what you said. I'm like, cool, let's talk about it. I don't have to be right. But I have an opinion. I shared it. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Again, it reminded me that I'd not worked in the US for a while, and I took a very Australian style, the Australian English style, to the stage. Did not go down well.
That is fascinating. And it's not until people in your position, and it is quite a fortunate position, that you can go around the world and organizations to really understand the different cultures. So when you are working, as you said, consulting to some of the organizations you do you're coming at a real global mindset, because some of these organizations, yes, they might be Australian, but they might want to launch in the US if they haven't already, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So,
or they've got customers there. It's really like most of the businesses I'm dealing with. I'm like, I don't care where you're located. Who are you selling to?
Yeah.
Oh, we're a global business, right? Well, you can be located anywhere.
Yeah.
You need to be able to empathize and build relationships and rapport with the people you're selling to.
Yeah.
Not the people that come into your office. It's a completely different construct.
And what's great though about that like just little example that you gave us is it is that chalk and cheese, but it will have been memorable. Whether they loved it or hated it, it would have sparked something in that audience to either consider further.
Yeah. It might have dropped a few weeks later, but also learning curve for me to go, okay, if it's a public forum, I need to be more aware of who's there, what mood they're in. So I've added a question now to my prep.
Oh, yes.
What if you describe the mood of the people in the room before I go on stage? Do that. What mood do you want them in after? And they're like, I'm like, do you want them inspired? Or do you want them entertained?
Yeah.
Do you want them provoked? Do you want them to feel like they should go and change? Or do you want them happy that they're on the right path and confirmation? Because you need to guide me, because I'm going to give a slightly different talk depending on what you need. Because some audiences, you need me to break them first to rebuild them. Others, if I try and break them, they'll never be rebuilt. They're so fragile, right? So do they need reassurance?
Yeah.
Or do they need a kick in the arse? Like, help me understand. So I've added that as part of my briefing now, to help guide me as to what kind of talk I give.
Yeah. And you're in an interesting position as well, because what sort of leeway do you have from Atlassian? Because you are
too much.
Because you are your own, you've got your own, should we say, personal brand.
Yeah.
But you are also going in as, part of Atlassian as well. So
look, it helps. Like some of our values, like open company, no BS, right? Don't F the customer. Are two of our favorite Atlassian values. So I'm like, if I'm being true to them, then I'm okay. I think where it differs, Amy, is the audience. So there's a whole lot of private events I do that no one ever finds out about because they're private conversations. And those ones I get to go really hard because normally they're like, we need you to break us. Like there's a chap before Christmas, he said we've spent $60 million in the last few years on consultants. So they all go through that revolving door. They drop a PowerPoint presentation off. They charge us $20 million. They bugger off again. And he's like, I've got $20 million to spend, but I don't want to go through that again. But I don't think it's the consultant's fault. I think it's our fault. So
you can't implement if you're not implementing the strategy or what. So
he's like, I don't want to go to another consultant. I need someone like you to come in, private session with our C-suite leaders, politely and in the most gentle way possible, break us and rebuild us, like shock and awe. And I was like, cool, like bring it out, right? So I get a huge amount of freelance, often from the purchaser of the service, that I don't need it from Atlassian. When I'm on stage in a public forum, I'm not doing provocation for the sake of provocation. I'm normally doing it to go, there is a better way. And that better way might be more work-life balance or more enjoyable work where I get more satisfaction, sense of purpose. Therefore, I'm a better husband and a better father. I try and talk about it in those terms because it's not that there's a benefit to me. Right. That I think collectively we can do it better. And if that involves me dropping a few truth bombs, then I'll do it.
Yeah. That's great. And touching on the current state of work, we've mentioned we're both from the north and we were brought up with that strong work ethic. You said at the beginning, a job for life, but also it's all about hard work. It's putting in the hours. You earn your stripes. And
you celebrated the calluses on your hands.
Oh, yeah. I think I've got some from the gym, actually. But also
very first world.
I know I inherited the whole, if you want a job doing, do it yourself. Which isn't a great sort of mindset for that. Sometimes that teamwork. But what's the biggest myth we're still clinging on to about how work should be done?
Two that really stand out. One is that there's a thing that exists called a high performance team.
Sounds a nice buzzword.
Yeah, it's just this fake utopian state that we read about that's not true. And the second one is more of an illness that we have in business right now. Is our endless, bizarre fetish for productivity, which I believe for knowledge workers is the worst measure you could ever put on them. I think it's the antithesis, it's the opposite of what we should be doing. And we've not got a better proxy around what does an effective team look like, what does effective work, what does impact look like, because we haven't got those or they're soft and fluffy. We're like, were you productive and we prod people and actually all we're saying is, are you busy?
Yes.
And I think busyness, like we're in 2025, we can get rid of busyness, but we can't. We're addicted to productivity and it's sickening.
And how do you see in the future we're going to be able to unravel from that? Because, I've got that busyness people often wear as a badge of honor.
Oh, God. Well, it's a multi-layered sin, right? So there's a CTO I was working with recently. He's a funny chap. They'd rolled out some AI technology and he ran it as an A/B test. So half the teams used it, the other half didn't. And the vendor came back and the teams that used it were 30% more productive. And he's like, cool. What benefit did that give me? And they're like, well, he's like, well, how do I measure that? Have I got more innovation? Have I built product faster? Therefore, I've got it to market quicker and I've made more money. Like, what was the impact of that productivity you talked about? They were like, we'll go away and do some more work. And it was come back a few days later and like, bit of bad news. So the team that were 30% more productive with the AI had a 40% increase, 40% increase in meetings because they didn't know what to do with the saved time. So the reality is we've got this challenge of what's the next best task. If you don't know what the next best task is, you'll fill it with a crap task. Anytime you just fill as a void because you need to be busy. Because I need to be busy to keep my job. Just look, I'm doing stuff. I'm moving stuff around. You're like, is it the right stuff? Oh, God, no, but I'm moving stuff around. So it's multi-layered answer, right? As businesses, we need a better measure of impact. There's a business recently I've been working with privately. All we did, simplest form, was all they cared about were outputs. I was like, that's bad. So for every team, we're like, what's the input measure that tells you you're starting the right thing? What's the output measure that shows that you shipped the thing? And then what's the outcome measure that shows that you had the impact you desired? Every team had to have all three. If you didn't, you were out of kilter. Just that alone, as every team going, we have no idea what our conditions are for starting. You're like, well, don't start then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we ship something and you're like, cool, what impact do you want to have? And they're like, what? And you're like, well, you shipping it is your measure. That's intrinsic for you. That's fine. But how's someone using it? What are they using it for? Do they like it? Are they loyal? What's their feedback? And they're like, oh, that happens months later. And I'm like, I know, but you need to track that. So suddenly when they institutionalize that as part of their mindset, they were like the whole company lifted. Now, they don't know how to measure that. They feel more effective. They're collaborating better. There isn't a thermometer you can show people and go, you're starting better things. But when you do that at a company level, you can have huge difference. And then just how we measure, like just how we talk about and vocalize business success is huge for us. Like I think in Australia, particularly, we have an opportunity to say, like, what's the total cost of business? Like if I'm running a coal-fired power plant, you're like, well, I can generate electricity slightly cheaper than this other alternative. You're like, yeah, but you kill the planet. You're like, oh yeah, if we costed that in, it probably would be actually more expensive.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't think about that. Like with productivity, we're all more productive. You're like, great. So mental health is an all-time struggle. We've got all these, and you're like, oh yeah, the downstream side effects. Yeah, we didn't think about those.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't look at the total cost, and I think we could be smarter at how we do that.
Yeah. And it's still not like, as you said, people have perhaps been productive and completed those tasks or those projects quicker, and it's had that impact. But it's not like, great, they're then leaving the office at 3:00 to go and enjoy that free time. You're just on to the next thing. In the future, are we going to find a real radical change or something that is going to actually land and suit everyone?
I honestly don't know. Like, I'd like to think yes. I honestly would. But it's weird because it's almost, the question's almost what conditions need to exist for that to be true. And that's where it gets a bit murky, because the conditions that need to exist is you need governments that are willing to think long term. That doesn't happen because they only get 3-year terms.
Yeah.
Right? So you're like, bugger. Okay. You need businesses to think medium to long term.
People change all the time.
Why are you doing quarterly reporting to your shareholders? So you'd kind of think a little bit long term, but you've got to make the quarter work, right? So most of the system that exists is for short-term gratification. And that's hard, right? If you know, government gets voted in and you're like, cool, you've got to have impact in the next 6 months to win votes. Some you'll do over the 3-year period, but you're not going to institutionalize a change now that pays a benefit for the next government. It's not that, right? So we've kind of like the system is a little bit, and that sounds a bit dark. I feel the same with education. The system's flawed, right? Yeah. And so you're like, are we willing to change the system? And then you're like, oh, like that's a big investment. So I think it's possible, and I've seen companies and some cultures and customs move that way. I think it just takes time.
Yeah. And I've read a few articles and such from people who have tried different things in their organisations and have perhaps tried the 4-day work week, but then it's like that panic. Everyone's cramming everything in to get that day off. Then you've got other people who might, flexi hours sort of thing. And you can't help but think, well, yes, if everyone's on a bit of a flexible time, when is everyone available to come together and collaborate?
Flexi can work if you've got innate trust and you hire fully formed adults. If you don't have those two things, flexi doesn't work.
Yeah. What do you think?
It's where the argument of like we tend to have in society right now binary arguments like, should we work from home or should we work from the office? And that's not the right question. It's what's the mix and how do we make it work for different people? And like in Atlassian, we still got our offices. There's a whole cohort. There's 30% of people spend 4 or 5 days a week in the office. There's a whole cohort that spend most of their time at home. There's some that do a mix of both. Right? I'm a mix of both, and it's very much on an as-needs basis. But to try and pick an answer is where it gets messy, because we pick a generic answer that doesn't actually apply to anyone. Yeah. But it's nice because then you can have a policy and a procedure and compliance, and you can make sure everyone meets it. And you're like, it doesn't work for anyone anymore. Yeah. And so this is this weird tension we have between build your own adventure, but how do we get the time together? Right, with some structure, but we don't want to make it overly burdensome. Yeah. It's tricky. And there's forcing functions in there for me. I run a global team that's spread all over the world. There isn't a time in the day where we can all be on a call together. So we work quite asynchronously. Yeah. That's a new muscle that we've built, and we use that to build connection. The deal is that 2 or 3 times a year, it's currently averaging 3 times a year, we will be in the same location, we'll hang out, no laptops, we will work together but on high fidelity stuff, and we build connection. Yeah. Right. And that will survive us whilst we're distributed. But if we don't have that connection, you can really feel it when it drops, because we get very transactional. Yeah. So we know that, right? So we model our year based on when are we all going to hang out.
Yeah. We also live in so many tech tools and platforms. Obviously, Atlassian creates a lot of tools as well, which are fantastic tools.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot out there now and they're all pinging and firing for our attention. So how do we actually cut through some of this noise and actually get work done?
Some of it is boundaries. I think it's a human problem. I think we're all easily distracted. There's a lot of smart humans I know that wake up and the very first thing they do is read their email, and their email dictates their day. I was like, why? Are you responding to the last voice you heard, or are you doing the most important thing today? And they're not the same. And so, like, for me, I run like a portfolio approach over like any given month, where I'm like, these are the things on average I want to achieve over the month. Not always in my control. Things are going to happen. Like, how do I course correct along that? Again, I do that within a week. And then at the end of the week, I reflect. I'm like, did I have the right mix? And it's not that any one day is the same. So I was on the road a lot in November, December, January, February, March. Lots of travel, lots of high octane events, customers, and a whole lot of stuff. I have been back in Australia and sleeping in my own bed for 3 weeks now. Right? That's a very different set of routine. So that's me in my home office going, cool. Where are all my notes from the last few months? Who do I need to follow up with? What conversations have I not chased? What blog do I need to write and share out? Like, it's a very different pace. Over a quarter, it will balance out, but all days aren't built equally. And so I try and do it on that portfolio approach of, am I investing in the right things on average over time? And again, I feel quite fortunate. I have a lot of liberty to do that, right? I have a lot of trust and space to do that. But I think the portfolio approach of going, how do I own and control what I need to do? We built a play I think it's in our playbook online called Design Your Week. And I share it with people all the time. They're like, oh, I don't do that. I'm like, what do you do? Well, the week just happens to them. Right. So you're like, well, don't let it happen to you. Like, take a bit more control, a bit more agency.
And we've talked quite a lot of about global organisations and large organisation, because that is typically who you work with and who you're part of. But what, if any, advice can you give to small businesses, solo businesses, when it comes to some of this productivity and getting more done? Because often in a smaller or solo business, when you're that self-motivator, so you don't have always the accountability of a team or weekly stand-ups or the check-ins or someone else who is running the Trello board or something. And then you're having to move your tickets along, etc. Anything you can see that does translate from these large organisations into people who are in that smaller growth?
I think there's a massive advantage that small companies have that most don't realise, which is learning velocity. The small businesses that I work with, there's quite a few, they have the ability to adapt about 100 times faster than enterprises. Weirdly, all the small businesses I work with are like, oh, we can't wait to be an enterprise. And all the enterprises I work with are like, oh, we wish we had the nimbleness of the small business. I'm like, do you want to chat to each other? Like, it's like all married people want to be single and all single people want to be married. I'm like, oh. But the difference is learning velocity. So if you just like, what on earth does that mean? It's if you're running a small business and I'm running an enterprise, we get the same insight on the same day. As an enterprise, it's going to take me 90 days to get my act together. You can act on that within 90 minutes. Right? And when you realize you have that superpower at your disposal, your shoulders kind of lift and you're like, damn, I'm going to be faster to market than you every single time. I'm going to get speed to value over you every single time. I'm going to experiment faster than you. I'm going to pivot, like whatever the word, like I'm going to do all that faster. And it's going to look more chaotic, but I'm going to win some market share through speed, right? Through just being faster at taking the insight, going, the world's changed. I'm going to course correct. I can deploy something different, deploy it, test it, it worked, I'm going to do it again. In the time you've done that, the subcommittee, tribe, working group at large enterprise has gone, I don't know, needs to go through the risk board. They only meet every third year, right? So for all the monolithic structure of an enterprise, which is just part of the struggles they have, you have that learning velocity. In the world right now, the pace of change, learning velocity is a superpower. If you appreciate it, understand it, tap into it, and utilize it. Don't abuse it, utilize it. That is a massive superpower. Way too many startups and small businesses I work with start adding process. I'm like, what are you doing? You don't no process. Stop the process. Fly by the seat of your pants for a bit, but learn faster than your competition. Like, be 1 degree faster, 1 degree smarter. You will be way more resilient. You'll outlast anyone.
Oh, that's fantastic insight. And, a lot of conversations sometimes Alex have between us, particularly with regards to really good conversations. And I'll be like, we need our strategy session, our planning session. And he's a little, on some occasions, not all, we just need to get on with doing the things.
Yeah.
He said having more talking about it, more strategizing,
more theatre, more dance,
isn't going to do the actions that we already know we need to do.
Yeah.
So let's get on and do them.
Yeah. 100%.
And he's like, and who are we writing this strategy for if there's only you and I?
Yeah.
So that's our internal things. You describe yourself though as a bit of a recovering workaholic, and you mentioned boundaries before, but in reality, how have you learned about boundaries, or how have you actually implemented them?
I think just sort of as you get a little bit older, a little bit wiser, I think looking at the signals, like I used to correlate volume of work to success, and then realized that wasn't true. Volume of work just meant busyness and not success. I think I've had moments in my career, I've had some really good mentors and coaches, like absolute standout. And they've been able to challenge me in ways probably no family member or friend can. Few standout moments, one going like, a really good mentor a few years ago, he's like, are you chasing your dream or someone else's? I was like, oh, bugger.
Yes.
And he's like, if it's yours, can you articulate it to me? Like, what does success look like? And I couldn't. And I was like, okay, so that by default, it's someone else's. Why?
Yeah.
And then that forced me into a reflective moment and go, so what does success look like for me? And only I can judge that because it's my time, my effort, my energy, whatever. Those mentors and coaches have paid huge dividend along the way, just to anchor me or shock the system. And then kids, right? I realized when the kids came along, I probably didn't need it. I'd already had a few life lessons, but when they came along, it's like, okay, I have a finite amount of energy. How do I still be a good colleague, good employee? How to be a good husband? How do I be a good dad? How to be a good son? How do I be all those things? Good friend. And then you're like, I need more than 24 hours in a day. And it's like, actually, I don't. I can be if I focus. If I prioritize properly, I can. But if I stay as a workaholic, I might earn a few dollars more and be a terrible dad. Does if I foreshadow, if I project forward 20 years, does that feel good? No, it doesn't. Right, rebalance. And I'm not claiming I've got the balance. I'm aware of where I go the wrong way, and I get out of kilter. And I think just being aware of it's enough. Yeah.
Do you think organisations who do that talk actually do let people set boundaries? So, for example, if people are putting in meetings for 8 a.m., it's like, the boundary would be, sorry, actually, I can't do 8 a.m. And it's like, are they actually able to do that?
Like, if we're just honest, without being too dark, if we're honest, most wellness programs are risk management and they are theatre, right? It's we have to do this. It's on the website.
Yeah.
There you go. We've done it. We've ticked the box. We've given you an app. If you're not using it, that's on you. You're like, I'm not using it because I'm so stressed with my job. I can't get on the wellness app, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's an ownership struggle there is part of it. The other part is like we do an exercise. I do it with all the leadership teams I'm a part of called my user manual when we start working together. And part of that exercise is what is a working agreement, social contract between me and you. What is your working condition and working style? So I was doing this I ran it with a team recently. And one guy was like, here's the situation with my kids and my wife and my family. So I get on at 6 a.m. and I work 6 till 12. I take a break 12 till 4 and I'm on 4. And you're like, oh. And he's like, so don't feel sorry for me if I'm on at 6.
Yes, because that's how I've structured my day. Yeah.
That's what I want to be on, because that works for me. And you're like, I didn't realize that. So I've been avoiding 6 because in my mind that's bad.
Yeah.
And I've been making it late. And he's like, no, I can't do that. And he's like, and you suddenly realize if you don't have that conversation, you can't build the social contract.
Yeah.
So we've made that a first-class citizen. Like how we work as a team, the very first thing before we start doing any work together is how do we want to work together?
Yeah.
That pays a huge dividend. But again, it's if we second guess what the other person wants, we're almost always going to get it wrong.
Yeah. And if you're trying to then go, we have to conform to the 9 till 5:30 rules because that's the thingy of work. So, and like you said, some people they can do the morning one, which would be suit better.
Yeah. And then there's a whole lot of working parents at 9 to 5 that you're going to kill me because now I'm working across my drop off and pick up times.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, no, I love that. You touched on their conversations and, you do talk a lot about having honest conversations and you've interviewed a lot of really fascinating people on your Experts Unleashed series. What conversation has really changed something for you in your life or work, do you think?
In the work context, I feel genuinely privileged by the random smorgasbord of people I get to meet, and it's at conferences over a wine. I had one a few years ago around a fire when we were cooking food together, and this conversation just naturally went on its own path, and I was like, I have no idea why I'm here. Like, not imposter syndrome. I have no idea why I'm here, but this is a fascinating conversation. And so I use all of those to go, how can I start to build this rich tapestry of stuff outside of my world? So I suffer a lot with confirmation bias. My ego loves a massage. I love to hear things that I already know said again back to me. I'm like, I knew that. That feels nice. So I on purpose go looking for tangents and orthogonal conversations. And when I get them, I love to sit in the discomfort. 'Cause I'm like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Right? But so that is from a work context. That just means that I get access to people of all these random backgrounds. I don't believe I have any right to be in those conversations, but just listening to them and absorbing them, I'm like, this makes no sense. At some point it will, and I'm just going to suspend judgment. Like it doesn't matter. So a silly example, but I was listening to a neuroscientist and a health expert in the US talk about all the things that we think are illnesses that are curable, but they talk through the system problems as to why they'll never be cured. Because pharmaceuticals don't make money from fixing you. They make money from masking you, right? And they explained all this, and I'm suddenly going, oh my God, this is like the world around me is crazy. And whether what they said was true or not, or just their opinion, it doesn't matter. I let it just sit, and I'm like, that's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen. I'm going to let it sit. It's really uncomfortable. So they're like, does the world want to solve smoking? Like, we can. We have the capability to. We could stop it, or we could actually cure it in all these different ways. But the system of smoking makes so much money in different ways, and we're addicted to that money. Same with gambling.
Yeah.
Like, you've got all these things, and they're dressed up in different ways. It's not right or wrong. I don't want to ban people from gambling, but you're like, here's the problems it causes downstream. We have way more power than we realize, but the system is set up to make profit, right? Yeah. And so those conversations, blow. I have a handful of them every year, and I'm like, what the?
Yeah, they are. It really is that like, oh my goodness moment of what, and also what we are creating and have created through our human life.
Yeah.
And I feel we're
the
going
knock-on impact of that, like all this stuff when you're like, wow, that's a thing now.
And you start to think, I think we're starting to go a little bit in this world where we are trying to now strip back things a bit, take back control, even when we're talking about some of these ways of, working, connecting, behaving as humans.
The human. We're trying to be more human than we've inadvertently made ourselves like really poor versions of the machines.
Yes. We are now in this AI world. It's talked about every day at the moment. But, with AI, hybrid working and generational change all accelerating, what's one shift you think leaders aren't ready for yet?
Oh, well, there's so many. One they're not ready for is that I'd say probably 80+% of leaders I'm working with right now are using AI to fix yesterday's problems. And they've not yet realized that it can be used to create new things. And so it's like we're reversing, we're like trying to shove it into the past, which is why it's talked about with productivity a lot. Like, when people aren't productive, can I use AI for that? You're like, maybe, but I don't know why you do that. When you've just been gifted this whole new tool, technology, this whole new capability, why you'd use it to solve an old problem rather than creating new opportunities. And I get it, right? We're obsessed by fixing what we know rather than it's hard to understand the net new things we can create. The example I give people is like when the iPhone first came out, we were of a generation, like we're digital immigrants. We started in the analog world. When the iPhone came out, you remember this hoo-ha, like all the jobs that it was going to challenge and kill. And then you look at the App Store. No one imagined the App Store and how full it would be with apps and all these things you could do. All Apple did was create this technology. The apps that came on top of that gave us the power to do so many things. But we couldn't imagine those at the time. And now they're second nature, right? It's going to be the same for AI, but like 100 times.
Yeah.
And we just, there's a whole lot of leads that I can't imagine it. And I get it. I have full sympathy and empathy for them. It's really hard to guess.
Yeah, to see that. If you could redesign work from scratch, what would you keep and what would you bin?
I'd bin meetings. And I would keep social contracts. I said it before, but the idea of having an honest conversation, an intellectual conversation with a group of diverse team members on how you're going to work before you start the work. It sounds obvious. Most teams don't do it. And all they do instead is thrash. Yeah.
And just put meetings in people's calendars without perhaps asking.
We spend people's time like it's free, and it's not. It's the most precious resource we have.
What's one really good conversation you think more teams need to have?
Either why are we doing this or what does success look like? I ask it of every team I go into and I get too many stunned looks. Most teams, so if I'm honest, most teams default to what they're doing. They can tell me what really clearly. I'm like, cool, thank you. Why are you doing it? What? No, why? Yeah. Why are you doing it? And what does success look like?
Yes.
If you haven't got that peripheral vision, you're going to do the job regardless. So you might be efficient. You're highly unlikely to be effective.
Yeah. And you've got young kids. We've touched on about this as well. When you look ahead to the world of work that they'll inherit, how do you feel about it?
Petrified.
Similar. And what kind of jobs or skills would you be encouraging them to explore or avoid?
Relationships, social problem solving, the arts. I think there'll be a rise in philosophy, understanding different cultures, norms, languages, all those things that I think will remain universal truths of superpower of humans.
We love it. And I think something I've often discussed with, my father in his business is going back to the trades, using your hands for things, using the physical. But
also like we're bestowed with head and heart and hands. And we always have this argument like, should we use more head? Should we use more heart? Should we use all our hands? We have all three. Yes. When we combine all three, we get super, super smart. Like it's a real differentiator for humans. We've kind of not tapped into that yet.
Oh, I love that. Right, I'm going to do some quick fire questions, which I don't normally do this, but I've got some quick fire, and then I've got 3 on the spot questions from our pack of really good conversations. So these are on the spot anyway, but these ones were just others I came up with.
But you cherry picked the ones out of the pack, so it's all right.
I did. Well, these ones are because I thought I wanted to get further insight into your brain. So, number 1.
That's a dangerous thing. But
are you a morning person or a night owl?
Night owl. 100%.
What's your go-to productivity hack when you're feeling in a slump?
Cooking.
Oh, but then you're busy cooking, not doing your...
Cooking is my freedom.
Oh, so you maybe go cook something, restart.
I never follow a recipe. So cooking is my creativity.
Love it. What's one book that changed how you think about your work or life?
There honestly isn't one. I'm a really bad reader. I'm good in conversation. I read a book and I retain nothing.
That's all good. What's the weirdest job you've ever had?
Following traffic wardens around Sydney to check that they were giving the right tickets to people on their cars.
Random, yeah.
2003, I had to wear a lot of sunscreen.
Gosh, I bet you got paid quite well as well.
No, it was bad work, but it wasn't paid well.
If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing instead?
I'd love to be a TV host.
Well, you're kind of on your way there with your speaking and your... I often think I was a missed opportunity more in the kids character.
I could see you doing that.
So maybe you could go into that field as well. We can do it together.
I swear too much for kids, but
What's a phrase or buzzword you wish could be banned from the workplace?
Other than productivity, synergies. Oh, no, actually, swap that. Expectations. Who on earth are you to have an expectation of me? I can have expectations of myself, but don't tell me I met expectations or met some expectations. Yes. It brings out the worst in my behaviours.
Yeah, when people are doing their reviews and stuff and there's the ticky boxes, have they met expectations? Yeah. What app could you not live without?
Any of my messaging apps. Like I feel fortunate to have friends all over the world or even just around Australia that in the busyness of world will be WhatsApp or whatever, just a funny message or a bit of bants with a mate, wherever they are in the world, and getting that reply or a silly meme, it just puts a smile on the dial at the right times.
Love it. Agree with that. What social media tool would you ban?
All of them. Especially LinkedIn. And I'm on there every day, but a little bit of me dies each time, to be honest. It's like a drug for me. I have to do it as part of my role, and I see the value of it. It's just noisy.
Yeah.
I think if we could go back to like what they're actually for and do them more meaningfully, I think they all have a purpose, but I think it's all got a bit messy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it's going to be interesting how that continues to go in the short term as people can now generate more content and post that isn't necessarily, they haven't necessarily written it, but they'll post it out there as well. So tea, coffee or something stronger?
Chai tea. Me and my wife brew a chai tea every morning. We cheekily brew one in the afternoon. I've not drank coffee for 5 years.
Oh.
But yeah, that is our ritual. A really nice proper leaves, milk, water, coconut milk. Normal milk, we brew it on the stove. It's a nice little ritual. It's freshly nice, gorgeous.
Brilliant. Finish this sentence for me. A really good conversation always
challenges.
Oh, nice.
I love it when someone goes, I get why you said that, but have you thought about, and normally the answer is, no, I haven't.
Yeah.
Like, tell me more about that. Like help me grow by showing me something that I've not seen.
Love that. Right. You passed the test on them. And I have 3 questions from our Really Good Conversations first edition pack. And because we've been talking a lot in the workspace, really. But number 1, what job have you enjoyed doing the most in your life?
The one I'm doing now. It shouldn't be called a job. I shouldn't get paid for what I do, but I do.
Well, you did.
Luckily, my boss won't listen to this because she's too busy.
You did make up your title and just make up your whole way of working, time of working, location of working. So,
but also, like the extended answer to that is me and you grew up in a world where you weren't meant to like your work.
Yes,
and I actually like my work, and it feels a little bit weird every now and then. If I'm back in the UK in a pub in Manchester and people are like, "How awful is your job?" and I'm like, "It's not."
Yeah.
It feels a bit odd. Yeah,
you are. You've got the jackpot.
Yeah.
Question number 2. How has your life turned out differently from what you had expected?
I mean, in every possible way. I can answer that 2 ways. In every possible way and not at all. Because I think I'm where I was always destined to be. But I don't think if anyone necessarily saw that path for me. I think it's... I'm the only person in my family to have like left the village. In essence, like all my family live quite, and I don't begrudge them any of their existence, but it feels quite different experience. And so I feel quite grateful, but I just feel like there's so much out in the world to be seen and experienced and done, and I'm hungry for more of that. So it's quite different than my immediate friends and family, certainly my friends at school, and I don't begrudge a minute of it. Like it's a great adventure.
Fantastic. And the last one, question number 3. If you came with a warning label, what would it say?
Just massive warning. Coarse language contained within, challenging views likely to come out, like beware, all of those things. Like it's consume with caution.
Yeah. Do you think you've always had the confidence to, I guess, speak your truth, be direct?
No, that's come with time and with practice and with reading rooms a bit better and knowing when it's right to do that and when it's not. And it's not about my truth. It's about, is this going to pay a dividend in some way? It's always a pay it forward moment. But I've not always had that. That's grown over time.
Brilliant. And the last question I like to ask all of our guests is, if you could ask any person, dead or alive, a question, who would it be and what would you ask them?
My one of my older sisters passed away in 2020 of breast cancer. You know this because you watched my TED Talk.
I know, where I cried at the end of the TED Talk, and I feel you're going to set me off now.
I would love for her to have a conversation with my boys. I don't know what she'd say. I have no idea what she'd say. I know what I'd say to her, but I'm like, I had enough conversation with her. My boys will only ever hear her stories from me and never hear her stories from her. So I would love for them to see what mental, maverick, crazy, stupid, idiot truth sayer she was. And I think that would pay them huge dividends.
Well, it obviously runs in the family then.
There's genetics in there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for your time today. It has really been fantastic we've covered so many topics, and I was mindful when I was trying to plan this of like, do we only hone in on one topic. But I just thought, no, there's too many things I wanted to go through. So I really appreciate that. Where can people find out more about you or connect with you or look they up if they haven't come across you already?
You'll see me stumbling around the bars of Brookvale. No, you can find me on LinkedIn, Dominic Price, or domprice.me is my website.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to check out the show notes for more information on today's guests. And if really good conversations are your thing, hit subscribe and join us next time for more business journeys, insights and banter.